DNA for business and how we convert more prospects to clients. We have Mark Elkins to do that for us. Please give him a hand.
Thank you. Wasn't that great, Karen's speech? It was awesome. It made me think about all of the things that I would rather say about the personality mastery than 530 grid, even though they're both really, really deeply important. I have to tell you, it made me start to think about various things. I am an analytical. I love this map, right? This is a process, this is instructions, and I can go into this far, deep, analyze it 9 ways from Sunday. If you start to master personalities, the 530 grid, and the natural laws, you'll begin to develop not just knowledge, but wisdom, right? And I think that, and I thank Mark Boersma for bringing me into this about almost 2 years ago, because he has given me a lot of wisdom, and he has introduced me to people in this group who have a lot of wisdom, who have shaped my raw knowledge, right? I know how to do stuff, but I have not always exercised the best wisdom until I started to learn these things. So I encourage you to make a study of this and to develop that dimensional living. With regard to the 530 grid, everybody in every business has got these 5 areas, right? They're listed here: marketing, pre-sales, sales, servicing, and client for life. And today we're here to talk about the magic seed principle, right? How to convert more prospects, right? Magic seed is box 12. Now, who needs readers? Because I know on your sheet it's a little small. No? Well, they're here if you need them. So, all right. So, this is feeding your successes into box 1, 2, and 3. So the most important area on the 530 grid is box 1, 2, and 3 of the 30. Right? So within marketing, everybody has these areas: identify targets, developing and delivering message, grouping people and messages, measuring results, personality-based marketing, and dollar results marketing, right? But not necessarily in that order. You need to start someplace. Now, everybody in this room has got a system. Who thinks that they don't have a system for running their business? Okay, good. Many of you have a great system. You just don't know what it is. And so you're not exercising it consistently, and since you're not exercising it consistently, you're not getting the results that you really want. Who's heard the phrase, not playing with a full deck? Right? What's it mean? It means you're crazy, right? Well, I think most of you, like me, are playing with a full deck. You just don't know where all the cards are, right? So Mark Boersma said something really impactful to me actually at this meeting. He said, if you can put it in a binder, you got a system. And I said, oh, he's crazy. Putting it in a binder makes it a system. I don't know about systems and binders, so I went home and I looked. Well, what do you know? Foreclosures, nothing down offer, sales training, everything's in a binder, including the map, right? It's all in a binder. So this is all systematic. So I started building my system, right? And there it is. My binders. Did something fall?
No, not at all.
Okay, good. So here are my binders. I've got marketing. I've got identifying targets. And so here is my big book of targets. These are leads that I've developed over a period of time for buyers and sellers, and I call them regularly. And here we go, my binders where we are tracking them, right? That is box 3, right? The messages are already out there on the internet, so that's box 2. And we're grouping people in messages because we're getting separately buyers and sellers, right? Different targets. And then we are using this to develop real leads and develop actual sales. So this is, for example, a sales package where we have a property actually under contract, and we've prepared marketing materials to deliver a specific message to this particular seller, right? And then we will deliver this particular set of information to a particular buyer, so that we will use this to group our people in messages based on whether they're a buyer or a seller. And these are all nicely packaged up in binders. So Mark was right all along, and I didn't recognize it for over a year. Thank you, Mark. Because, why? Because as Kevin said, I was not looking for the answer. The answer was here. I didn't recognize it. It took doing the system wrong, not having a proper system, not being able to find all my cards, a long time before I figured out, gee, maybe Mark was right. And then I looked and saw all these systems bindered up. What do you know? So there you have it. Thank you again, Mark, for your wisdom. Now, feeding successes and building the magic seed principle here. How do I use my existing sales and prospects to build my business? And how do I feed those successes back in to identify more targets and group more messages and close more prospects? What do I have to do? It happens that this customer here, let's see, we got 12th Street. She is a seller. She is an older woman. She has decided to move to Arkansas. So she's selling her house to me so she can move to Arkansas. And you know what? She doesn't owe any money on it. She doesn't care about how much money she makes. She just wants to go. So I give her a fair price. Deal is done. Who else do you know is selling your house, Mrs. Bell? Well, you know what? My daughter's going to move to Arkansas too. She wants to sell her house. Well, what do you know? I have a referral from a current customer. In fact, this customer isn't all the way closed yet. We hadn't even gotten to sign the contract yet when I asked her, who is asking their prospects for referrals? Okay, if you're not asking people who you haven't even sold yet, then you need to start asking those people for referrals. One of the things I learned in this group is that the person who's standing in the front of the room, which is why I do it all the time, learns more, the person who's teaching, than the student. So I teach all the time so I can learn more than you. See, I'm kind of cheating. But I love it because I get to help a lot of folks and I learn so much and my knowledge continues to grow deeper. But the person who is teaching learns more. So when I have my prospect who thinks I'm really great at this and I've told them a lot of good information and I presented this nice sales package about their property specifically, and she tells her daughter about it and she is teaching her daughter about my business, guess what the daughter thinks? The daughter thinks I'm wonderful and signs up with me for her property. Okay? So we have two customers where there what used to be one because we fed a success with this customer, there we go, back into identifying targets, developing and delivering a message, and tracking our leads, right? So that was a really great success. Now I have sellers who don't think that they should sell in the creative way that I like to buy because I don't like to buy real estate in the traditional way because I need to make a profit on it. Now, most real estate is somebody moves into a house and sells their old house, most of it, or they buy their first-time house, or they move their business into a larger building, right? That's most real estate. I can't make money on regular, ordinary transactions. I have to have creative transactions. So how do I explain that? Now, you can convince anybody to do anything as long as you do this one thing. Find out what it is they want and see that they get it, right? It's clearly spelled out in Think and Grow Rich. When you show them how they can get what they want, it has to make sense to them. So you have to explain it clearly and plainly. Having a system that you use regularly gives you an opportunity to structure your project and your sales system such that the message becomes consistent. It's really interesting that Mark pointed out and Kevin pointed out that we started to have similar messages throughout the room, right? And I find it really interesting that this message lines up so neatly with what Kevin was saying and what Karen was saying. I didn't plan to coordinate my talk with theirs. It just happened because it's part of a process, part of a system, and part of a procedure I use to build my presentation every month, right? So if you continue to build your system that way, you will continue to be able to feed your successes back into your lead system and generate more leads. One of the biggest things I did with this recently for a seller, why should you sell it? I introduced him to a buyer who recently closed and actually concluded the buy for me in a creative way. It took him 5 years to buy. I was asking to borrow the money from the seller. So I introduced him to a buyer who had successfully closed the deal after 5 years. Why did he buy? How excited was he? What did he pay? How did he pay it? What's he going to do now? It turns out he's finished his deal. He's moving out of that house. He's going to rent it. Can I manage it? So I got another lead, right? He says, can I sell him another house in another area where he wants to move? I have another lead. And the seller is helped to be convinced by the success of this first buyer, right? So I used a buyer success to convince a seller to be successful. That's how you use the magic seed principle. I'm Mark Elkins. My phone number is 630-372-8800. If you'd like to talk to me about real estate, investing, or you'd like to validate how great this system is, I'd be glad to talk to you.
Yeah, without a roadmap, we're not going to be able to convert more prospects to clients. That's really key. You know who you're talking to, you know their pain, you know what they're doing and what they're looking for, and just use this as a system to get there.